Welcome to Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. So, it is time to talk about the 2024 roadmap. It's going to just be a very high level overview of my 2024 plans. I'm not going to do the giant, I think there's 31 things on my 2023 personal reading challenge, and I didn't enjoy it so much. Yeah, I read a lot, but it wasn't so fascinating that I want to do it again. So this is a much more high level map of not really guidance, but go in this direction, Tammy. Take this footpath and see where it takes you. Versus, you must read the following choices. My brain just is not happy about the following choices line of progression. So we're not doing that again. So here is a copy of the info map. I will pin it on my community page if I can figure out how to do that. My brain will figure it out. So let's talk about the high overview. I did 12 things on the info map, as you can see. So once a month. Figured it was nice and broad. It gave me, choices and some variation. So that should make my personal brain happy, which is far more important than hitting just random goals I came up with for myself. So let's talk about it. First up, January. And for January, new year, new series. So there are several. Yes, I love you too, Fireball. Now go lay down. There are several, and by several, I mean there are multiple new series I want to start, I want to try, I want to finish. Some of them I just bought on the Cavalet's Book a Million closeout sale. When you can get an entire series of books brand new for $3, and if you hate it, it's a $3 investment. Yeah, totally worth it for me. So we're not going to talk about any of those here because they're not here yet. So here are 3 series I know I am starting this year. First up would be the Burning Blade and Silver Eye series by Django Wexler. This is the first book in the series. Ashes of the Sun. It is fantasy. It is a complete series. I own all 3 books. I have been waiting for them all. I have them all. My brain is in the mood for fantasy. So I think I've read the first chapter, maybe the first couple of chapters in this one. And I am incredibly interested. So I'll read you the back. Not even the ties of blood will keep them from splitting the world in 2. Surrounded by the relics of a dead empire, 2 siblings, one who wields magic for the empire, and the other who has vowed to bring it down, will battle for the fate of their world in the first book of this epic new fantasy trilogy. Yeah. I'm interested. And this book keeps calling to me. You've heard me complain about it before because it's missized for the rest of the series. That is The Evening and the Morning by Ken Follett. This is the first book in the Pillars of the Earth series. It's listed as the prequel. Chronologically, it's the first book of the series. And my brain is very much telling me to, read this one. It starts in 997 and this book concludes in 1007. So it is definitely Viking. And so, yeah, sign me up. And then the next book, and this is a duology, is The Princess of Ireland by Edward Rutherford. And the duology is the Dublin Saga. And I've read the back of this before, so I won't read it again, but I have both books in the series. You know, there's maps, there's multiple maps, there's genealogy chart. Yeah, so until my brain is in the mood for that kind of big, chunky, meaty, sink your teeth into it series. February. Romance. Pick romance with unique setting. I have read far more romance in 2023 than I have in probably the last decade. So for me, a unique setting is it's not unique, but I mean, it's not a rare unicorn in what I read, but it's also not the author I've chosen. I don't tend to read a lot of Westerns. Not sure why that is. I just don't generally gravitate towards them. So I have pulled for my birthday haul, Aiming for Love by Mary Keneally. And this is the first book in the Brides of Hope Mountain series. It is Christian romance. I will read you the back. When strangers intrude on three wild sisters' hidden mountain life, their world will never be the same. Josephine Nordgren is one of the three sisters who grew up nearly wild in southwestern Colorado. She has the archery skills of Robin Hood and the curiosity of the Little Mermaid. Fascinated by, but locked away from, the forbidden outside world, a world she has been raised to believe killed her parents. When David Warden, a rancher, brings in a herd much too close to the girl's secret home, her older sister is especially frightened. But Jo is too interested to stay away. David's parents follow soon on his heels, escaping bandits at their ranch. But his father is wounded and needs shelter. Josephine and her sisters have the only cabin on the mountain. Do they risk stepping into the world to help those in need, or do they remain separated but safe in the peaks of Hope Mountain? I love the cover. It sounds like a good time. So I'm holding out hope for this one. Okay. March Madness. Not a huge basketball fan at all, but let's go with the theme. And March Madness is read outside your comfort zone. And for this, I have chosen Codename Edelweiss by Stephanie Lansom. This is World War II Christian historical fiction, romance. I am not a huge World War II reader. I tend to find that time period in history really overdone, and I get bored by its overuse. It is definitely outside my comfort zone. So hopefully I really like this book. It has very good, reviews. Everybody loves it. So we shall see if I do. April. April is Spring Has Sprung. A coming of age novel. And for this, I have two choices, one of which is loaned out. That is Aragon by Christopher Paolini. I know the 5th book in the series just released this month. I'll put a picture of it right here. I believe it's Murtagh. And this is fantasy, dragons, coming of age. And the second book I wrote down, and I don't know anything about it at the moment, is Scavenge the Stars. I will put the picture right there. And hopefully editing Tammy pops in and tells you all about the book. So, future Tammy, do that. Okay. May. Life is in full bloom. Go outside. Everywhere in the country at this point, it should be warm. It should still be relatively warm south of the equator. Winter shouldn't have set in yet. Go outside, read a book, enjoy the change of seasons as it happens for you. And I have left this open on my, suggestions list to myself. I do, however, have a potential good choice for this. So my potential choice for May is Nature of a Lady by Rosanna M. Waite. This is the first book in the Secrets of the Isles series. And I love this cover. It is just gorgeous. It really is. It's just gorgeous. And they're labeled. Good job, publisher. Bethany House, thank you. So this is Christian romance. Oh, there's a map. I'll read you the back. Lady Elizabeth Libby Sinclair, with her love of microscopes and nature, isn't favored in society. She flees to the beautiful Isles of Sicily for the summer and stumbles into the dangerous secrets left behind by her holiday cottage's former occupant, also named Elizabeth, who mysteriously vanished. Oliver Tremaine, gentleman and clergyman, is determined to discover what happened to his sister, with the help of the girl now living in what should have been Beth's summer cottage. Especially when he realizes it's the curious young lady he met briefly 2 years ago, who shares his love of botany and biology. But the hunt for his sister involves far more than nature walks, and he can't quite believe all the secrets Beth had been keeping from him. As Libby and Oliver work together, they uncover ancient legends, pirate wrecks, betrayal, and the most mysterious phenomenon of all, love. I just think it sounds beautiful, and it sounds just full of life. And, what more could you ask for from a spring read than a book full of life? Moving on to June. Summer is upon us. Read a big book. I have so many big books to choose from. So, one of the ones from my birthday haul is Queen by Right by Anne Easter Smith. I have read nothing by this author. I am so very intrigued by this book. My brain so wants to read this book. May not wait till June. We shall see. But it is definitely right up there with the Tammy, pick this book up and read it. It's, one of my favorite time periods in English history. So, and the cover is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And the other big book sitting here staring at me, I've had for a while. That is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Suzanne Clark. This is her debut book. It is historical magical realism. I've heard nothing but wonderful things. I know the BBC made a miniseries out of the book. I have not seen the miniseries either. Didn't want to spoil the book. I'm very interested flipping through. Their illustrations. Didn't know that. But flipping through briefly as I sit here and talk to you this morning, I just noticed something that has irritated me before in previous books. We will see if it bothers me here. Extensive footnotes. I don't mind footnotes in nonfiction. In fiction, they're either incredibly annoying or the author should have just written that into the story rather than make me read a footnote. So, okay, rant over. July is Christmas in July. And for that, I have picked up, and not because it's necessarily a Christmas book. I don't think I have a lot of Christmas books sitting on my shelf. But this one is just wintry in its appearance, and that is The Ice Swan by Janelle Szynski. This was also a birthday haul book for me. And yeah, I'll read you the back. I'll read you part of the back at least. Amid the violent last days of the glittering Russian monarchy, a princess on the run finds her heart where she least expects it. 1917 Petrograd. Fleeing the murderous flames of the Russian Revolution, Princess Svetlana Dyatsky hopes to find safety in Paris with her mother and sister. But the city is buckling under the weight of the Great War, and the Bolsheviks will not rest until they have erased every Russian aristocrat from memory. Svetlana and her family are forced into hiding in Paris's underbelly, with little to their name but the jewels they sewed into their corsets before their terrifying escape. Yeah. It may not be a Christmas-specific book, but it looks wintry, and that's enough for this prompt for me. It doesn't have to be a Christmas book. It just needs to be wintry, and will undoubtedly be a nice cooling breeze as the sweltering heat of a Texas summer sets in. Next month is August. My birthday. So, birthday bash. Mood read. Just that simple. I just need to mood read in August. And let me tell you, that will be easy because I love nothing more than just to not have a pile and just read what my heart wants to. And so I don't even have suggestions for this. It's just mood read to celebrate my birthday. That brings us to September and back to school. So, nonfiction. I have two choices for this, both of which are high on my list. The first one is Ancient Israel. And this is by a lot of people, but it's edited by Herschel Shanks. It is Ancient Israel from Abraham to the Roman destruction of the temple. And it's the third edition of the book. And the reason I picked this up this year, I like the fact that there are color photography in the middle of the book. And there are illustrations throughout, and it's footnoted, and there's maps. Is maps. So the reason I picked this up this year, is I read a Connie Lind cassette book, and I spent the first quarter to a third of that book a little confused because my historical knowledge was lacking, and my brain said, fix that. So, I'm going to fix that this year. And it's a perfect time to read this book since I decided to do the Bible in a year for 2024. which is just ongoing throughout the year. So it will complement that as well. So, and it's not huge. It's going to be dense. Let's see. There are notes. It's only a little under 300, little over 300 pages before you get to the notes and the index and stuff. And that includes pictures and maps. And so it's not super dense, which is always a plus. And then the next one you saw in the October book haul is The Literary Lives of the Inklings. And this is the Inklings were Tolkien, Lewis, Barfield, and Williams. And there are pictures in this one as well. Not a lot. Just pictures of the men and their wives and each other. But this, I'll read you the back. Named 2015 Book of the Year by the Conference on Christianity and Literature. C.S. Lewis is the 20th century's most widely read Christian writer, and J.R.R. Tolkien is its most beloved mythmaker. For 3 decades, they and their closest associates formed a literary club known as the Inklings, which met every week in Lewis's Oxford rooms and in nearby pubs. They discussed literature, religion, and ideas, read aloud from works in progress, took philosophical rambles in the woods and fields, enjoyed companionship and criticism, and in the process rewrote the cultural history of modern times. In the fellowship, Philip Zalitsky and Carol Zalitsky offer the first complete rendering of the Inklings' lives and works. The result is an extraordinary account of the ideas, affections, and vexations that drove the group's most significant members, eccentric geniuses, Owen Barfield and Charles Williams among them, as they presided over the creation of The Lord of the Rings, The Chronicles of Narnia, and other works. The Inklings sought to revitalize literature and faith in the 20th century's darkest years, and did so in dazzling style. Nonfiction is not generally my great love, but as you will learn during Bookmas videos, I plan to read a lot of Tolkien this year, and this was appropriate to go with that. So I picked it up. That brings us to October. And read a spooky book. So an atmospheric or Gothic novel. I have picked up Warlock Holmes, The Hellhound of the Baskervilles by G.S. Denning. This is book number 2 in the Warlock Holmes series. And these are they are fantasy takes on Sherlock Holmes. I enjoyed the first one immensely. What is the first one called? I can't remember off the top of my head. Hang on. The Study in Brimstone. It is just this very unique take on Sherlock, unlike any other take on Sherlock, and I love it. So I do also have the Bronte sister books coming from Calvet, and those easily qualify as Gothic, so I can read one of them. All right. November. Novel November. Read a book that keeps calling to you from your shelves. So this was not a difficult choice for me. I so want to read this book, and I was so caught up in the 2023 list that I couldn't work it in. So if I haven't read it before November of 2024. I will read it in November of 2024. And that is Boudica by Amanda Scott. This is the first book in the Boudica series. So this is Dreaming the Eagle. I'll read you the back. At 12, she killed her first warrior. At 21, she defended her land against invasion by the most powerful empire of the world had ever seen. At 40, she led her people in a bloody revolt and became a legend. Set in Britain before the Romans came, Amanda Scott's thrillingly imagined novel brings the brutal world of druids, dreamers, warriors, and their gods to vivid life. The opening chapter in a story of passion, courage, and spectacular heroism pitched against overwhelming odds. Seriously, this one just screams my name on a regular basis, and I haven't had the, as my husband would, as Dave would say, the bandwidth to work it in. It's just shy of 700 pages, and it is, dense text, so I will get to it next year. That is a promise to myself. All right, end of the year. It's December, and that would be the reason for the season. And read a New Testament biblical fiction book. It doesn't have to be about a New Testament character. It just has to be set in the time frame. And I know a lot of people are very hesitant to read biblical fiction because for whatever personal reasons they have. If you're not hesitant, but you're not, let's say, a believer, or you're somewhat skeptical, all it really is historical fiction set in biblical time frame. And if you look at it that way, I don't think anyone should have a problem. But again, that's personal to me. So far, I have found nothing objectionable in any of the biblical fiction I have read. I have found them to be immensely fascinating, and they have made me curious, and my brain cannot argue with ever being made curious about anything. So that is a good thing. So I have chosen, this was another birthday book for me, A Woman of Words by Angela Hunt. This is the third book in her Jerusalem Road series. I do know that these can be read out of order. And this is the one that interested me the most. If I pick up others in this series, that's great, and I'll read them in order if I get them. If I don't, I'm not going to not read this one because it's the third one. I know they can be read independently. So I'll read you the back. Could the greatest calling of their lives still be ahead of them? Mary, mother of Yeshua, is nearing 60, and though she still delights in serving alongside the disciples, she has begun to feel her age and experience fading memories. She feels compelled to record the stories of Yeshua's life while the eyewitnesses are still alive. The disciple Matthew is overjoyed to join Peter, James, and John in Jerusalem. He dreams of preaching, but is disheartened when he learns the other disciples prize his skills as a bookkeeper more than his teaching ability. He is further dismayed when Yeshua's mother asks him to help her compose a manuscript. He agrees, yet their differing visions cause friction between them from the start. As word of their work spreads throughout Jerusalem, they face pressure from both friends and foes, and when the Roman emperor turns an angry eye towards the holy city, Mary, Matthew, and the believers must endure an unimaginable test of faith. As a Catholic, Mary holds a very special place in my heart. This book very much speaks to me. I'm very interested. I may read it well before December, and if so, I will. I have a couple of other choices sitting on my shelf, but if I don't get to it by December of next year, I will read it then. And I love the cover. I really do. I love the cover. So, okay. That is the 2024 roadmap. It is a very broad overview of what I plan to read this year or next year. I will go into more detail during Bookmas in several videos. I'm breaking it up so it's not one long, info dump. But, everyone just, personally, I need a high overview if I'm going to, share my love of books with the universe. So here's the high overview. Do you have 2024 reading plans? If so, share them down in the comments below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.